Right, white to play. Pause the video straight away and decide what would you do. So black's got these two pawns sort of charging down the board at us, and it doesn't look good. This king obviously is not going to be able to stop them just by itself running away, and at the moment the bishop's hanging if the king goes. So you think you've got to move your bishop really, but I mean a move that suggests itself is bishop f6, but it's a losing move. Black pushes the f pawn, bishop comes to d4, black pushes the f pawn again, king comes to d6, desperately trying to catch the catch the pawns, and this is pants. So yeah, this is called pants in chess. I think it's because it's like two legs of trousers coming down the board at you, like two different legs of trousers. Maybe it's translated from Russian into American English, and after that crazy tea party, they forgot about trousers, didn't they? And they put pants on over their pants. So they get out of bed in the morning wearing their birthday suit. First of all, they put on their pants, and then they put their pants on as well. So they didn't have trousers. So it probably comes from that. I tried to find out more about these chess pants, but you'll notice from the picture that I've got on the left of the video, just as a special one-off, just for this video. That's the kind of picture you get if you Google chess pants, and I haven't been able to find out any more than that really. So all I can say is that this is pants, two different pawns coming down the board at you in a way that a bishop can't cope with them on one diagonal, and yeah, bishops they just can't cope with these pants. So the bishop comes to e3. We see pawn to c2, king d5, f2. The bishop's overworked, and it's a win for black. So in the original position, because of these pants, you can't play bishop f6. But the brilliant drawing move is g6, because now if black takes that, the bishop just goes to g5, and the bishop can cope with all three of these pawns on this diagonal. The black king can't even get out to help. You know, we might see king f7, king d6. I mean, what's black going to do? I mean, to get out, they've got to sacrifice one of the pawns, got to push the f pawn, say. Bishop takes f4, king f6. You can just chase the c pawn now. You know, if you chase it all the way to c1, the bishop just takes it, and then the bishop can just take whatever lands on g5. King f5, bishop c1 is not really going to change any of that. And if black plays g5, you just take it with check and then take on c4. So I mean, it's just drawn, obviously. However, black has actually got something sneaky they can try after g6 if they want to sort of hold on to their pants and not let this bishop onto this diagonal, stopping them all at once. And that is this move, f6. And you could pause the video again here, because white's only got one drawing move, and it's not to take the pawn. Okay, white's only drawing move is king d6. Okay, if black pushes the f pawn now, I think that would lose. It would lose remarkably. This is checkmate in 4, and the move you play is bishop e7. The black king can't move. Okay, this pawn's controlling f7 at the moment. That's move 1 of checkmate in 4. 2, 3, 4. Checkmate. So if you're black, don't push the f pawn. You could play c3. White can't do the same thing this time round because that pawn would queen before you've had time to set up the checkmate. But here you can just take on f6, b2, and then you're on that diagonal again, aren't you? Bishop g5, and the black king can't stop your king getting to f6. So you're just going to win that, or indeed taking the pawn on f5. So that's going to be a win for white. So black wouldn't want to do that. They'd have to play king f8, realising this sort of trickery you've got with setting up the checkmate. and then you can come back and start hassling these pawns. I mean, you can see this is basically a draw now, isn't it? If c3, what could we do? We can take on, there's all sorts of moves. We could take on f6. Or if king g7, I mean, black might think, hang on a minute, I don't want to lose this. I'm going to go and click your g pawn, and you just take the c pawn. You can just put your king on f1 and move around your bishop, move your bishop around the board all day. So there you go. That's what pants are. There they are. There's the pants. Next, 1932 game. White to play. Black's a piece up. Is a bishop. You've noticed, hopefully. And yeah, I mean, just to demonstrate how black's doing pretty well in this position. If white just plays a natural centralizing king move, we could see bishop a2, king comes into f4, f6 puts a stop to that, guarding the e5 and g5 squares. White tries to break out a bit on the king side, which is a good idea. Black can just take, e5, takes, and alright, white's got a passed h-pawn, but black can just push this e-pawn in the middle. Black only needs one pawn to win this, and indeed this is just completely winning for black. King back to g3, bishop d5. You want to guard the pawn from behind. You want to it's the principle of one diagonal again. You want to guard, stop this pawn promoting, and guard the e-pawn at the same time. So if instead you play bishop c4, for example, I mean, that doesn't throw the game away, because after king f4 you could correct your mistake and play bishop d5. But bishop d3 does throw the game away, as in it's now a draw, because white can just push the a-pawn and the bishop's overworked. You've lost your pawn. So yeah, instead you'd see bishop d5 and king into f4, king g7. It's just gone. The black king's going to come and collect the pawn on h3, and yeah, the white king can't do anything about this. The bishop can just drop back to a8 and just wait there until the black king's rounded this pawn up and come over, and if the white king comes over, this pawn promotes, and the bishop can even move out the way and then take whatever promotes. It's just completely over. So yeah, that's just one example line of how this position's pretty good for black, and white realised this at the time. Like I said, this is a game from 1932, and played this move, d5, which is a good move. That sort of mixes things up. I mean, for example, black can't take that pawn because now white's won. So that pawn can't be taken. In the game, black played bishop d3, which throws away the win. To win this, what black had to play was f4. You've got to sort of realise the threat of creating another passed pawn on the king side and how good that is for white, and just fix white's pawns on the king side. So after f4, we might see a6, bishop a2. We've got to stop that a pawn, obviously. Takes, a7, bishop d5, king e2, e5, something like that. Or pretty similar, we might see king e2, e5. Got to stop the a pawn. King f8 is always good for dealing with the d pawn, and you can see this position's just absolutely fine for black. You know, this bishop can come back and stop this. The king can come into the middle and round this up. There's nothing going on the king's side. It's completely over. So f4 just won the game, and the engine's saying minus 5.4. But in the game, black played, bishop d3. Okay. White pushed the d pawn. That gets the black king thinking about things, and then pushed the g pawn. And this is still drawn, but black has to now tread very, very carefully to get that draw. The drawing move was just to take this g-pawn. King takes g3. I mean, because white's going to get a passed pawn on the h-file anyway, so you may as well just take. And then, yeah, black can still deal with this situation. I mean, there's some lines here, black's still winning this if white's not careful. So king e8, h4. These are the pants coming down the board. King d7, h5. Now, how's black going to deal with that h pawn? I mean, king takes d6 first of all, sorry. And then white could try and be sneaky here, realising that black's about to play f4 to guard the h7 square. White could try f4. F4 is actually a losing move because the black king simply comes back to the king side to deal with this. This bishop's earmarked for this pawn, and we're just 3 pawns up against 1. So f4 would be a losing move. White instead has to play h6, which forces black to give up this pawn to guard the h7 pawn. F6 stops the white king coming into g5. King back to e3, bishop to f5, and the bishop's sort of earmarked for stopping the h pawn, whilst the a pawn, white can now push to move the black king over to the wrong place. So we get the king offside. White can still draw this. King takes a7, and the white king comes in and attacks the f pawn. In fact, wins the f pawn. Black king comes over, and all white's got to do now is just keep their king in contact with black's e6 pawn. Black hasn't really got anything against this. Just keep your king in contact with the e6 pawn, and as soon as black's king gives up contact with defending that pawn, then you play h7, and it's a draw. But back to the game, that's what black had to do. They had to take on g3 and go for all of that business. In the game, black played f4 now. And white's now winning this. I mean, the engine's just gone from 0.0 to plus 6.1. Okay, so white took the h-pawn, king e8. When black played f4, they'd probably, this is what Dvoretsky reckons, they'd probably calculated a line along the lines of h5, which is now, that's gone from, imagine that, it's plus 5.6. h5, is that really such a bad move? It's a 10-point swing. It's just gone to minus 4.7. So Dvoretsky reckoned black had calculated this line. And you can see this is just one for black, because we don't take on a6. The bishop isn't really overworked because we've got our king to sort out the a pawn and the bishop to sort out the h pawn. However, if that's what black had calculated, they got a nasty surprise at this stage, because this bishop is a bit overworked. And how do we exploit that? We come and attack it, king e1. So if black just sort of carries on, king d7, there's your king d2, attacking the bishop. What's it going to do? If it goes that way, we push the h-pawn. If it goes the other way, we push the a-pawn. The black king hasn't got time to take the d-pawn and come and deal with it. There's just too many pawns coming down the board. Pants, apparently. So back in this position, black might have realised, uh-oh, I can see what white's doing now. They can come and try and shift our bishop, which is nicely placed on e5, on d3. I know what I can do. I can play e5. So when white attacks the bishop, I'll defend it. And sure enough, this would work if white takes on e4. I think black's actually winning that position, yeah. But we've just blocked our contact with the h-pawn. And any sort of discovered checks, or, well, it's discovered check, we just take the bishop on d3. Just push the h-pawn. There's just too much coming down the board. Black's got to get rid of that king takes d3, so now they are threatening e3 check, I suppose. But white's just pushes the a-pawn, and that's how the game ended. Black resigned there. There you go. Pants. So that was a game from 1932. This is a study from 1911. And it's absolutely brilliant. White to play. Pause the video. Have a go at it if you like. What would you do? What are you going to do in this position as white? So the absolutely brilliant first move, or possibly easy to find first move, but it's the follow-up that's harder to find, is h5. Okay. The idea of h5 is that when the black pawn has been taken, you know, we're creating a passed pawn here, the g6 push, and I mean, black absolutely has to deal with that, because if they don't, white's got the choice of where it goes next. If black could play bishop to h6, it'd be alright, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, we're going to play g7 if black doesn't deal with that. Just going back to this move though, what if black tried not to bother with that? What if they tried to be sneaky and just go with king takes d3? You know, the idea being that if white pushes the h pawn, we can cover it. If white swaps and pushes the e pawn, we can cover it. But after king takes d3, we would see h takes g6, f takes g6, and then this move is absolutely stunning. Because if you push the e pawn, black does cover it. That's a problem. You just play this block. How cool is that? Just stuff a knight on c5. Check. The king can't catch the pawn. And after the king moves, you just push the e pawn. King d4, e6. Bishops don't jump. That knight is just blocked. Just blockage. Road blockage. There's the road. There's the blockage. Yeah, so that line's pretty cool. h5, king takes d3. So black absolutely has to take that pawn, and then we see g6, and f takes g6 as discussed, and then we push the e pawn. And now black can cover that, bishop a3. So I'm just interested. The engine says this is dead even because black plays bishop a3. This just shows you how deep this stuff goes. And when black plays bishop a3, it changes its mind and says it's plus 4.8. So yeah, it's mad. And some guy called Platov worked all this stuff out in 1911. You know, composed this brilliant study. And this time knight c5, of course, doesn't work. The bishop just takes it. So just this position alone is worth a pause the video moment. You know, what would you do here as white? And it's just the outstanding knight b4. Bosh. You know, if black doesn't take that with their bishop, we are playing e7. Our king's on the white square, so there's no checks going in. These pawns are miles away from doing anything. You know, black just has to take that with their bishop. Black is so on the defensive. And you've probably guessed what's going on by now. We've got the pants. There's your pants, bishop, coming down the board at you. And the whole point of this video is that bishops can't cope with pants. Yeah. That's what Dvoretsky says. Says the bishops, they can't cope with the pants. So a4, let's say black tries to stop these pants and desperately comes back with king d4, a5, king c5, e7, it's gone. Or king e5, we'd see a6, maybe try bishop c5. Which one should we push? Should we go e7? Bishop takes e7, a7. I mean, to be fair, the engine's still only saying +4 because we've got a queen versus a bishop and 3 extra pawns. But you know, I'm reasonably confident I could win that, to be honest. So at this stage, sorry, there's one other possibility to cover, which was, oh yes, what if black doesn't make a run? Just decides they're not going to deal with these pants and just decides to sort of have their own pants coming through. So king takes d3, a5. Oh, yeah, this line's quite nice as well, actually. d4, a6, king e2. We have a bit of a pawn race. White wins the pawn race just, but this is a bit tricky. What's going to happen here? Queen a2, pinning the pawn, first of all. And after the natural king e1, check this move out. This is just... talk about the icing on the cake. King g2. Queen f2 mate is following after d1 equals, well, anything except for a knight. But after d1 equals knight, what could we do there? I'll probably play king f3. That looks quite nasty. Winning, whatever. Yeah, and what does black do here? You know, because the point is that if they just sort of do nothing, then white can now play e7. That pawn can't be taken because the queen picks up the bishop because the king is forced to d1, and now you've just got a queen. I mean, you can do the usual queen versus a central pawn, just work out a way to go around the board collecting pawns, or probably just bring your king in and mate black, to be honest. Yeah, how about that for a bit of pants? What was the position that most illustrated it? Probably that one, wasn't it? Whoosh. Take that, Mr. Bishop. Right. Next, in fact, I think this is the last one. This is the last one on bishops not coping with pants. Pause the video. Have a go at this. This is a study from 1933. It's another absolutely brilliant study. I really like it. So I was just checking my video there to see if I'd gone a bit it's getting a bit dark here, and I've forgotten to turn a light on. But it doesn't matter if I'm a bit dark, does it? It doesn't really matter. So what are we going to do? It's one of those studies actually that when I first did it, I thought I'd solved it and didn't realise black's got a drawing resource that hadn't even occurred to me. And whenever that happens to me in a chess, I'm trying to get white to play and win, or looking at a book, and that's sort of like an alarm bell thing for me, because that's exactly what happens in games, isn't it? That's exactly how we lose games of chess. Because we analyse lines and don't see something our opponent's got in them until they play it. So I'm always interested in that. I mean, I don't know if I ever do anything to resolve it, but I'm always always flag it. So I didn't see that, and then just move on to the next time. I didn't see it. Anyway, king e4, and we're going to stop the bishop coming to d4 to guard the h8 square. So we're threatening h7 at this point. Bishop d8. And at this stage, I mean, we want to guard the intuitively, we want to guard the f6 square. There's a couple of tries for guarding the f6 square, but they both fail to the same drawing trick, if you like, that I didn't see. So king f5, for example, black can play bishop back to b6, because now they're threatening to come to d4. And I'm thinking, all right, now I'll come back to e5, because I'm guarding that square and that square. So they can't even go bishop back to d8. This is looking really good for white now. Here's the drawing resource I missed. Attack the h-pawn. H-pawn moves. Bishop c1. How about that? Brilliant. Black messes about until your king's on e5, and then attacks your h-pawn from behind and plays bishop c1. So in this position, if we instead played king e5 straight away, same thing. Attack the h-pawn from behind, h7, bishop c1. Oh, so king e4, bishop d8. We can't stop bishop f6 unless we play one of those two moves. King f5 fails to this. Wow. And king e5 fails to this. What do you do? Bosh. Incredible move. Incredible. If king takes b6, then black has just lost their route to d4. So before it was bishop b6 and then we had to play king e5. Here there is no bishop b6. If instead bishop takes b6, our king's already guarding d4. So we push the h-pawn. I think that's sort of the third time this video. I mean, it was that knight b4 move in the last position. It's just like, wow. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? I mean, we're not forking anything with this b6 move. But we are sort of playing a move that you would just never think to play in a million years because it can be taken by two different pieces at once. I found that a lot actually with the bishops and the way they sort of trip over each other. I think there was at least two of those ideas in the bonkers bishops video that I made. Anyway, it's not over. b6. Black says okay. I've still got the trick with all the bishop routes, so I won't put my king on b6. You know, it's the same thing. If king e5, then I've got bishop g5. I'll do that one in a minute. And if king f5, that is actually a draw again. If king f5, we've got bishop takes b6 because our king didn't come to the b6 square. And we've got this business going on again. But this time white can play king e5 straight away, and black tries their same drawing trick. This was the drawing trick. But white's got an extra trick up their sleeve. Sleeve is an unfortunate metaphor. Because white's got another trick up there, down their trouser leg in fact, or their pants leg, depending which side of the Atlantic you're on. So bishop g5, here we go, h7, bishop back to c1, king d6. Now we're threatening h8 equals queen. This pawn's not falling with check, so black has to take it, and there you go. There's the extra trick we had in our trouser leg. I think it has to be king c7. It does. King c6, and black can still draw with bishop e5. It has to be king c7. I wonder if that's a sort of odd even thing going on. I think it is, because king c7, black has to put you in check because you were threatening b7, and then the check could be met by king c8. So black has to play bishop e5 and then king to c6. So we do want our king on c6, but we want it there when the black bishop's already on e5. And e5 is kind of like a crossroads thing that black doesn't want to be on that square. I think this position with white to move, let me just double check that actually. I think this position with white to move is actually a draw, I think. So king c6. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we've already seen that, bishop e5. So it is a sort of odd even thing. You play king c7, black has to play bishop e5, king to c6. What does black do? You know, I mean, the king can move, but sort of away from the action. So the bishop comes back to d4 to force you to move the pawn, because king c7 would be a repetition. In fact, king c7, you play bishop b6 check, and that is a draw, bishop back to d4. So white has to push the b pawn. King to a7. By the way, if bishop back, then we can just promote either of these two straight away. If king a7, then king c7, bishop e5, king c8. And I think black's in zugzwang, but I think the zugzwang's irrelevant because h8 equals queen would then be followed by b8 equals queen check, assuming the bishop took. So there it is, in the original position. Thinking, how's this going to be pants? And there it is. There's the pants. The bishop couldn't cope with the h pawn and the b pawn. Hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope you like the picture of the chess pants on the left. Do mention me if you buy a pair. and see if they'll give me a 10% discount on mine.